From Filing to Freedom, the divorce process simplified. There is a process for divorce, and it's easiest to think of it as different steps or phases. The first step is to complete the initial pleadings. These are the documents that you send to the court that informs the court that you are interested in having a divorce or obtaining a divorce from your spouse. There are 3 different forms that have to be completed at this stage. We always recommend looking at the forms, reading them through before you start to complete them. The court will accept these forms if you handwrite them or if you use a computer or type them. Once you have the forms completed, then you need to file them with the court. After they've been filed with the court, then you may need to serve them on your spouse or ask your spouse to waive what's called personal service. So anytime you start any kind of a case in court, it starts with that first filing or pleading. And then our law says in order to be fair, you have to give proof that the other party knows about this case. And that proof is called service. There are 2 ways to file for divorce in Colorado. You can file as a petitioner and co-petitioner, which means you and your spouse would file together, or you can file as petitioner and the other spouse would be the respondent. If you file as petitioner and the other spouse is respondent, the respondent either has to be personally served, meaning that somebody over the age of 18 and not you goes and personally gives the documents to them, or they sign a document that's called a waiver of personal service. Once this has been accomplished, you could move on to the second step. The second step is the disclosure phase. This is the one where you and your spouse have to exchange all financial information, all financial data, any information basically that would impact the case at all has to be exchanged. You will also complete a sworn financial statement, which is about a 6 or 7 page document that lists out all of your expenses, all of your debt, if any, all of your assets, and anything that you claim to be separate property. The sworn financial statement, along with the certificate of compliance, would get filed with the court, and then you can move on to phase or step 3. Step 3 is the negotiation phase. This is when you and your spouse will sit down and start talking about how you want to divide up the assets, the debt, if you have children, what parenting time would look like for the children, and what decisions need to be made for the children. This is sometimes done with the help of a mediator. This is sometimes done by spouses by sitting at a kitchen table, and sometimes spouses decide to retain attorneys to help them with this phase. Once you have some agreements with your spouse, you always want to get them down into writing and have both of you sign them. This might be a parenting plan, a separation agreement, or if you are participating in mediation, a memorandum of understanding. If you can resolve some issues, but there are some that you just can't agree on, then they would move on to the next stage, stage 4 or step 4. That is asking the court to set the matter for a hearing. The court would ask you how long you think you would need to present your side, and would ask the other side the same thing, and then they would set a hearing. At your hearing, the court is going to hear from you, it's going to hear from the other side, and then they're going to make the decision as to what is the disputed issue. It might be a property allocation, it might be a debt allocation, might be parenting time, might be a decision that needs to be made for the children. Once the court makes that decision, they will produce something called a permanent orders, or called permanent orders. And permanent orders are the legal document that sets out what the court is deciding on the disputed issues between you and your spouse. You will also get a decree of dissolution. The decree is the final document that terminates the marriage. It legally terminates the marriage. We always recommend getting a certified copy of the divorce decree and keeping it in a safe place, because you may need that in the future, and it is nice to have that certified divorce decree on hand. This is our video entitled From Filing to Freedom, the Divorce Process Simplified. We hope you found this information helpful, If you did, please leave a comment. If you would like to know more about divorce process, please leave a comment, because we look at our comments for future content for our videos, and we look forward to seeing you next time.